In the last week, I went to the building a model-driven apps course. So in the first part of it, we started building our own tables, making a form, and it was on a school maintenance solution. So we built some tables for location, for the issue at hand, and we combined those together into one form that users could use to log maintenance issues. And then about 70% in, and they suddenly switched from our small solution to, hey, import this ready-made solution that we made for a school library, which has a lot more tables and more forms, and we could work in that. And then so it was nice on one hand to not have to manually add all the data in, because they added the script to load in 1000 rows. But it was, quite a step up from just a small project into something bigger. So I'll show you the solution I made. App view of the maintenance log solution that I made in the course. And here is a bunch of issues with the description. And on the left-hand side, we can see dimensions, which are added tables of locations, and service areas and locations are a physical location in this school with a picture of it added to it. And then service areas is the area for the issue. But here we have our list of maintenance logs. And if you want to create a new one, this is the form that we created before. So we can set our priority, we can write a description, set a location, pick a service area. We can here on the right hand side say it's observed today, it's not completed yet. And we have a couple of empty fields, but if we save, it gets automatically added. So here it gives you an issue name, issue age, and here we can see it in our overview. So we have issue 1011, and we can see some things I ran into in this part of the course is the multiple ways you could add things to a table or to another object. So here we have the maintenance log with the columns and the data. And let's say we want to add a column. We could go here to the top left and say add column, which opens this modal. We could also go to the columns overview, then click new column, which opens the same model. If you go back to the table, we could also do edit, which brings us to another page with also a drop down to say new column, which also brings us to the same model. There's multiple ways. The course does go over it. It shows you multiple ways of where you can add it in. But as I said in the previous video, I think it's best if you have two screens, one screen to watch the video and then one screen to work in your own environment. I just used one screen, so I was just listening, and then I got quite lost when they switched tabs and clicked open another modal. So I highly recommend two screens. Another thing I ran into is we manually typed in about 4 of these locations, and then they added a CSV that we could add right here, import from CSV. You add the file in and it would import it. There were some issues, but that was explained in the video. Hey, you will run into this issue and here's how you can fix it. That was part of the course, but it gave me an error even after doing that. So I did it again. And then I found out that it did work and it added all the things twice. So I had to manually delete the duplicate locations. So it was a bit weird that it showed me an error, but it did do what it was supposed to do. So that was it for the school maintenance solution. And then we have the school library, which was an imported one. And that's a bit bigger. So there's 4 apps, there are 5 tables. And then they also added a script you could run to import data. A small library app. We have offers, they have books. We have students that can loan the books. And then we have the loans, which are almost 1,000. So luckily we could load it in and didn't have to type it. Open up a book. And here we can see the copies available. So ones that are in the library, we can see 2 are on loan and 1 is in the library itself. But we can also click related. So a tale of 2 cities. And we can find the related objects, the copies that we have. One thing here that a lot of people struggle with, as I heard in the Q&A and I also saw in the PowerUps community, is that in the video of the course, this showed data. So this had a number of books. But if we look at it now, there are no loans, although there is in the table. But you would have to start a search and then it would pop up. And if I would type in Alex, it would only show for Alex. Then it only works if you start it up and you search and then it shows the results. So I think that the instructor did this, it ran the search, tested it all out. So it showed the data here, but if you went to it, didn't start a search, then it would show no data, no matter how many books you added to it. So the second app, the library app, wasn't something that we made. It was ready-made for us, and we imported it to work on it. And someone in the Q&A session said that he imported it and deleted some tables, or he deleted the solution, assuming all the tables and the data would delete as well, and then imported it again to work on it. But that wasn't the case. So we had lots of duplicate data, and he didn't want to manually delete all the tables. He asked the instructors in the Q&A, like, hey, how can I fix that? And they pointed us to the admin center, go to our environment, and we can go to backup. And it keeps a backup of up to 7 days. So I could select the 5th and then set it back to last week, or even to a certain time. You could set it back 1 hour, 2 hours, if you know when something went wrong. It does take up to an hour before it's ready again, so you can't do anything in the meantime. And while I was looking at the environments, because in the last video I mentioned that I found it quite slow. So it can take a while if you open up something. So if I click my environment, I can see that the region is United States. I can assume that it's a bit slower due to the fact that the signal has to travel to those servers and back again, because it does add up if you click a lot. Coming back to the model-driven apps, the program says it takes 6 to 9 hours per week, and for just the purpose of these videos, I kept track of how long I spent. This is the first week, and I included the Q&A session we had, so the kickoff meeting, and then the first week I spent 5.5 hours, which is a bit less than what they assume. So the videos for the model-driven apps weren't that long, 10 minutes, and the longest I guess was 12 minutes. For this week, I have the build a Canvas app for a school library. But if we look at these videos, so this one is the first longest one, 22 minutes, 36, 54, 87. So 1.5 hours of just explanation and things you have to do. And it just continues on. So I added them up. It's 6.5 hours of video. Even not doing anything in the Power Apps environment, you already have 6.5 hours you would spend. So it will be a lot more work, but I'll have to space it out. So I guess my first step is to do these 2, or maybe 3. So that is 2 hours of video. And then I'll do a separate session for the long video of 1.5 hours. So if you're interested in learning about the Power Platform, just keep following along as I will document my whole process. If you want to sign up, link is in the description. So did you learn anything from this episode, or do you want me to dive deeper into certain parts? Let me know in the comments, and I can use the feedback for next week's video. And stick around, so next week I'll learn about making Canvas apps.